All right. Welcome everyone to part 2 of reading The Ancient Language of the Soul, the Mystic Knowledge of Mantra by Mr. Nehemiah Davis. Today we'll be reading chapters 3 and 4. And in a bit of a change from last week, I went ahead and read chapter 3 and already made some highlights and some notes to try and limit the amount of time I spend stopping and highlighting during the study session. I wasn't able to get to chapter 4 because there's quite a bit of information in both chapters. So I may stop and do some highlighting in chapter 4 or go back later and make those highlights in preparation for our open discussion on Sunday. But going forward, I think I'll adopt the method of doing the highlighting and notations before the study session and then coming into the study session with the highlights already, with my highlights already made in the text and my notes, which are mostly questions I have on certain parts of the text. And we can go over that, and you feel free to use my highlights and notes or create your own, so that when we come back on Sunday, we'll be able to have a lively discussion on the material we covered in the study session prior. So again, as a reminder, this text is available for purchase on Amazon. You can go to mysticknowledge.org website under the new book sale link. There's more information there, as well as additional links that take you directly to the Amazon page. You can purchase both the Kindle version, which I'm using here, or the physical book version. The physical book version is formatted properly in that in the Kindle version, some of the charts and illustrations did not properly transcribe or were transferred into the electronic version, but they are correct in the physical print version. I do have a PDF version of this book, and when we get to the chapters that have more detailed charts and illustrations, I would jump to the PDF version out of the Kindle version and put those charts up so we can see them clearer. Chapters 3 and 4 have quite a lot of information in them. So let us begin. Open the notebook. So I already have some pages available of notes. Second here. Go. Oops, sorry. Okay. Chapter 3, the essence of mantra. Mantra is a natural sound vibration said to be released by God, the Absolute, at the beginning of creation, and continues to vibrate throughout the universe as a creative power source for manifesting and maintaining all creation. This sound vibration is the creative song of the Absolute, God, and is repeated throughout the universe by the great celestial beings that respond to the great will of God unconditionally, such as the galaxies, central suns, the solar logos, and every solar system. Variations and components of the great creative song are repeated from the planets of each solar system. Each sonic vibration is accompanied with a loyal servant of the lords of karma, a mighty diva. The divas balance the will of God by maintaining the laws that govern the sonic vibrations that maintain the involutional and evolutional process of creation. It is said that the universal wave of mantra is like a wave of consciousness, configuring all manifested prana, Shakti, and matter, solidified Shakti. The best way to describe or define mantra is as an ancient, holy sonic vibration of creation. The meaning of this sound vibration can be seen as a wave of creative consciousness that gives life to all things. This wave of sound vibrations give configuration to the collective and individual consciousness of all life. Therefore, sound is the instrument used to convey consciousness on all levels of intelligence. If we take a moment to examine the use of sound today in our lives, we will notice the significant role it plays in our overall happiness and convenience. The ability to communicate effectively creates tremendous growth on the lives of people. And this communication is produced through sound. There are several expressions of sound that are used involuntary and voluntary through thoughts, feelings, desires, and belief systems. And they can be described as the following, but are not limited to: one, the soundless state that is accompanied with various facial and bodily gestures that express thousands of words in all languages. Two, the subtle sounds of the inhale and exhale of the breath as we engage in various activities. This expresses the depth of our mind and feeling in regards to the task at hand. Number three, the sounds that's produced from the movements of pacing, walking, and running. Four, sound as the spoken word to express one's thoughts and feelings on a particular subject matter. Five, sound as music to express feelings, thoughts, and musical sounds that capture periods of time which express political, religious, and social movements of whole generations of time. On a more cosmic level, there are four major points of description that can be used to explain and define this ancient and most holy secret subject of the mystic schools. The first point we will cover is how mantra is a creative sound vibration that initiates creation by transforming the Shiva power, a motionless absolute power, into Shakti, power of constant motion. The second point is how mantra, a divine sound vibration, is the creative force behind all creation. It modifies the great Shakti power into active points of manifested consciousness with a density to unify back with the absolute endless power of God in a complete state of static. Three, the third point is how this holy sound vibration of God, mantra, holds manifestation in place. Throughout all creation, everything in manifestation is the result of a sound vibration and responding to a sound vibration. For it is this sound vibration that configures all forces in creation. Everything emits sound vibrations to gain experience through consciousness and expand its manifestation of consciousness. The fourth point will be the role mantra has in the involutional and evolutional forces of creation. The involutional forces are the initial sound that engrosses consciousness. The evolutional forces are the sound vibrations that propel the point of consciousness towards liberation of its limitations. Mantra is a creative sonic vibration. In almost every major religion on earth, you will find some similar scriptures as to the following. God spoke the word, and the word was God, and creation was formed. The word was a sonic vibration released from God, the Absolute, which made its impression upon itself, which is the Shiva power of Sanskrit writings, that is the endless static state of all potential. Within this static endless potential are the universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energy, prana, that's released by the great holy sound vibration into an active state of manifestation. The word was God, because God is all, and all is God. For all things come from and is contained and maintained by God. It is said that the first word spoken could only be an expression that gives the name to the one life, God, the Absolute, and this word contained the expression of the will of God. Before the word was spoken, there was a force of endless potential in a state of complete static. These static forces of endless potential can be described as the motionless state of the universal mind substance and the cosmic energies of prana, Sanskrit terminology, in a complete static state of endless potential. When the Absolute released the word, a sonic vibration, it had a rippling effect upon this universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energy. This rippling effect caused a chain reaction called creation. The sonic vibration was the great word that contains all sound and words and represents the greatest mantra known to man today. It is the conscious will behind all creation. Within the word mantra is the root word man, which means to think, and the word tra, which means to protect and free. The great mantra released by the Absolute contains the thought configuration for all creation. Mantra is the force or power that activates the universal mind and cosmic energy into a state of manifestation called creation. Creation is a result of a sonic vibration being placed on the universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energies in a framework of divine law and time units to produce a manifestation of involutional and evolutional in a spiral effect of cosmic matter from the micro level to the macro level and vice versa. This sonic vibration is the force that configures all creation. It gives form and shape to mind and prana. The configurations produced from the sonic vibrations are used to bring the subtler cosmic energies and mind substance into manifestation in a specific duration of time. This brings a part of the whole, the Absolute, into a state of not whole, creating an illusion of limited consciousness, creation. The configuration produced from this sonic vibration being placed on the universal mind substance brings into manifestation a concentration of cosmic energies, Shakti, that responds directly to the configuration of this sonic vibration. In the Tantric doctrines described by Sir John Woodroffe in his book, The Garland of Letters, he describes the first modification of the Shakti power brought about by the first sound. In his book, he describes the several trinities of this power that expresses the four characteristics of the Shakti nature, Prakriti. This sets the natural tone for all components of creation. The first trinity is the Shiva, Shakti, and the relationship formed by Shiva and Shakti. The second trinity is the Bindu, a spiritual germ from the Absolute, a divine point of consciousness. The Nada, a divine wave of sound that permeates all creation. And the Bijas, the seed mantras, the power of Jiva, or embodied consciousness. And the third trinity is the power that can be characterized as willpower, Icha, the power of knowledge, Nana, and the power of action, Kriya. The fourth trinity of power is the fabric that all manifested life exists and operates within, and is described as the sattvic gunas, qualities, which are the pure wave of consciousness that molds manifested matter, the rajas gunas, qualities, which is described as being the nature of attraction springing from thirst of things and needed attachment, which produces bondage through clinging to the actions of things or desired. And the tamas gunas, qualities. The tamas qualities is the inert energy void of any light. It is the dark wave of consciousness that permeates all throughout matter. The actions of these four trinities are part of the involutional process of the Shakti and expressed by the great out-breath, the mantra, Hamsa, to lay out the evolutionary pathways of the life back to the Shiva power, the one life, God, the supreme being, so that through the great in-breath, the mantra, so, and Ham. In the book Japa Yoga, a comprehensive treatise on Mantra Sastra by Swami Shivananda, chapter 4, page 91, states the following. The soul of man is repeating the mantra so and ham 21,600 times daily. This happens unconsciously to us. It's one of the tools the soul uses to sustain basic consciousness. You should repeat your Ishta mantra at least 21,600 times daily to correspond to the 21,600 natural, so, and ham breath that every living being takes in and exhales. Then the efficacy of the mantra is great. The mind will be purified quickly. In a book written by George Feuerstein, PhD, the Shambhala Encyclopedia of Yoga, it states that the word Hamsa is often explained as sound produced by breath, the ejection of prana causing the sound Ha, and its re-entry into the body, the sound Sa. This spontaneous sound is widely known as the Ajapa mantra, Ajapa Gayatri, or Hamsa mantra. The body is thought to recite this mantric sound automatically 21,600 times a day. The Yoga Shikha Upanishad 6.54 counsels that this sound should be recited in reverse, namely as So, Ham, I am he. This is the wedge, Kilaka, spoken of in the Hamsa Upanishad, by which the door to liberation can be forced open. In the more traditional yogic teachings, the mantra, So, Ham, means I am divine. It's said that this mantra is repeated by the soul throughout the life of each individual. It is also this mantra that keeps the physical breath and the subtle flow of pranic forces in motion, sustaining the life on the physical plane of existence for a specific duration of time. Mantra is a creative force behind all creation. There's a creative force that lies behind all creation. This force is the initial power behind creation that sets all cosmic energies into motion. It is that force that gave the intelligent configuration to all forms and shapes. It is the sustaining force or energies that perpetuate the motion of all forms and shapes within creation. This underlining force can only be described as the initial word from the absolute God. The creative mantra, or sound vibrations. When the absolute withdraws the word, the great sound vibration, all creation falls into a motionless state of being. This can be seen in our everyday basic life. When life forms stop making sounds, it becomes motionless and so-called lifeless. The sound energy that gives intelligent movement to all life forms is dissipated into a subtle movement of energies when the higher intelligence withdraws sound energies from the life forms. The great mantra is the conscious will of God. It is the force behind all motion. As stated above, the great holy word, creative sonic vibration, released from the absolute at the start of creation, is that force that impresses the all-pervasive mind substance and universal cosmic energies, thereby bringing this static endless potential of manifestation into a state of creation as active manifestation. Most ancient texts from the major religions around the world states that in the beginning, God spoke the word, and this word set the forces of creation in motion. The configuration produced from amalgamation of these mighty forces was caused by the great word released from the absolute and is the inner signatures of all the micro and macro manifestations of creation. The sonic vibration that permeates the universe is the creative signatures of all manifestation. This vibration is subdivided into thousands of units, reconfiguring manifestation throughout a time continuum. Sound mantra is the vibrational force of all manifested subtle and gross energies. All things have a harmonic state of operation. This harmonic state can be described as subtle sonic vibrations that keep the structure aligned and functional. As the harmonic state of operation deteriorates, the mass of energies loses its subtle sonic vibrations, mantra, that creates the network of motions that gives directional movement to subtle and gross energies in a framework of time cycles. The goal of all manifested energies that expresses itself as sentient life forms is to gain control over the gross energies and transform them into subtle energies through conscious control. This sound or harmonic state is the consciousness behind all subtle and gross energies or all creation. As I stated earlier, every breath we take is a result of a subtle sound vibration, which Tantric Yoga describes as the So and Hum mantra. This mantra sound vibration sustains human life and develops into a force that produces gross sound vibrations that we pronounce as the So Hum mantra, which is the gross aspect of unmanifested soundness potential of sound, and the aspect of subtle sound that initiated the sustaining force of life. This is a creative force behind creation. Later in this book, I will go a little deeper into this subject of these sonic vibrations, mantras, that permeates the human structure as chakra vibrations. Mantras are used to hold manifestation in place. One of the great secrets of mantra is its inherited nature of harnessing the cosmic power of the universe. Every place, person, or thing has a vortex point of receiving and transmitting cosmic energy. This exchange of energy is the main reason why we have a continued manifestation of cosmic energy in a state of subtler and gross matter. The physical body of man has several major subtle vortex centers and a number of minor subtle vortex centers. And all of them are made up of mantras and use mantras or components of mantras, bijas, seed mantras, to calibrate the great cosmic energies that enter and exit the human and etheric structures from the most subtle level to the grossest level. It is said that the chakras, vortex points, are a combination of dozens of calibrated bits of modes of motion, which is sonic vibrations, created by subtle sounds of the bindu, nada, and bijas of the chakras. This wave of organized subtle sound is a wave or stream of unified consciousness, of unified conscious will that seeks to create forms and shapes to gain countless experiences through the involution and evolution of consciousness through life's constant revolutions of consciousness. The bindu is described as a spiritual germ that drops from the divine consciousness, the absolute God. It, the bindu, is the point of consciousness of the all-knowledge space that extends from the one life, the divine spirit, the all in all, Brahma, the supreme being, God. The bindu, as the point of consciousness, extends its voice as nada. The nada forces from the Mahabindu act as the creative wave of consciousness within creation that holds and stands as the potential power that brings about the countless forms and shapes within the manifested creation. These forms and shapes first express themselves as bits of modes of motion, and then they arrange themselves as bijas and become forms of embodied consciousness on various realms of existence that make up what we call the chakras. The arrangement of the chakras determines the expression of that involved life form. The arrangement of the chakras is done by the soul, which is a direct expression of the spirit, a divine spark of God. After this arrangement of the chakras, the expressed life form embodied behind these chakras, which is the soul, links themselves through thin lines of force called the nadis. These nadis create a matrix of thin lines of force that link the chakras, creating various levels of consciousness. Each chakra expresses the will of the spirit and a portion of the soul's consciousness. This nadic system is created by the soul's will to begin its journey through involution to evolution. The soul creates and sustains these nadic matrices through the use of a sacred mantra that is chanted repeatedly. The mantra repeated from the soul forms the nadis and then shapes the complex, intricate nadi matrix. It is the ancient Ham Sa or So and Ham mantra that the soul uses to breathe life into these cosmic lines of force that links the chakras, creating and embodying consciousness, Shiva, as a great expression of life. Components of the involutional and evolutional forces. As the Absolute releases the great word, wrapped in the word is the configuration of all forms, shapes, and its compositional formulas, all responding to the laws of God. The Absolute spoke the creative word, AUM, which is the gross expression of the creative word. And from this came an immediate reaction from the sonic vibrations of the word being placed on the universal mind belt and the sea of cosmic energy, which is a formless sea of endless potential and power. From this action came a rippling effect, manifesting expressions of countless forms and shapes of creation. This sonic vibration seems to have a dividing effect on the universal mind belt and cosmic energy, which is caused by the inner signatures of the sonic vibration that holds the endless configurations of creations, forms, and shapes. As stated in the old ancient mystic writings, God took a piece of his consciousness and created the universe. This means that the will of God involved a piece of the consciousness of God into subtler and gross manifestations of creation. The will of God can be described as the great creative word released from God at the beginning of creation and is continually repeated throughout the universe. The manifestation of creation has two major objectives: the involutional process and the evolutional process. The involutional process can be described as the piece of the consciousness of God being involved and wrapped into countless garments of sonic configurations, forming countless shapes on various levels of frequencies within a framework of law that yield to express itself in the most subtle and gross forms of matter throughout manifestation. The evolutional process can be described as the shedding of these countless garments of sonic configurations, forming countless shapes around and within the universal mind belt and cosmic energies that form the points of consciousness called light streams or the spirit, a divine spark of God, and soul of man, the body of spirit. The shedding of these garments cause a clear and direct communication with the Absolute and brings man in unison with the great rhythmic flow of the creative word's power, which is the will of God. The proper chanting of a holy mantra with great reverence by a man will allow him to tap into the absolute power and help him to burn up all the negative auric vibrations and liberate himself from the limited consciousness of the embodied consciousness of the soul. I hope this chapter has given you a greater insight on the subject of mantra. Although it was explained briefly here, we hope that it at least captured your interest to try and understand more. Right. This completes chapter 3. Chapter 4, the power of mantra. Sanskrit letters, varnas, and words, pada, which are all bits of sound vibrations, sabda, make up what we know as mantra. The letters of the Sanskrit language can be seen on and throughout the major chakra symbols that are located along the spine. Each major chakra has a number of petals, which are bits of sound vibrations described with Sanskrit letters. They are described as modes of motion that help to synchronize the cosmic energies or pranas within the etheric structures and human body. And within each of the major chakras along the spine, there is a seed mantra, bija, which is a one-syllable mantra. These seed mantras, bijas, help to govern the flow of prana, cosmic energies, that moves through and out the chakra system. These Sanskrit letters and words symbolize several things. One, it represents the embodied consciousness of the soul and the point of consciousness of the unmanifested portion of spirit, which is actually a divine spark of the all in all, the absolute. Two, it is the sound sabda bodies, or the bodies of consciousness that precedes the casual bodies, the etheric bodies, the mental bodies, the astral bodies, and the physical. It is the manifested power of all these vehicles of expression. Three, it is the life signatures contained within and behind all the bodies, subtle and gross, the essence of consciousness. Four, it defines the several levels of consciousness of man, unmanifested and manifested. A, supra-conscious mind, the level of higher consciousness. This is the level where the Kundalini yogic operates from after continuously raising the Kundalini power to the throat or Christ chakra and becomes an adept or master. B, subconscious mind. This level of consciousness operates on an unconscious level, taking care of all involuntary functions of the body and mind. It is an automatic responder mechanism to the karmic pressures of man's life. It is the portion of man's mind that acts as the devic host, manifesting and conforming man's destiny strictly according to karmic pressures manifested, brought about by man's own thoughts and actions. C, conscious mind. This level of consciousness is man's window to the physical realm of manifestation. It is the basic consciousness of man. It is the self-consciousness of original man. It is the vehicle of expression that we must train and evolve in order to manipulate the pranic forces to the level where we can completely synchronize and control the mind, vital pranas of the subtle and gross bodies. 5, it binds all the various bodies together, creating a vortex window that allows man's various levels of consciousness to exist and work on different realms of existence. 6, it shows the evolutionary pathways that man uses to make his way back to God. 7, it shows the pathway that Kundalini takes on its journey to unite the soul with the spirit or Shakti of Shiva. Mantra is sound vibrations, presented to the human race as Sanskrit letters, words, and combinations of words, all expressing the will of God through its many names of God. All sounds come from the first spoken word, from the superior being, the absolute God. The Sanskrit alphabet is 50 bits of sound vibrations from the first spoken creative word. The Sanskrit language was reportedly used to design vehicles of expression for the soul. It is said that mantra is the language used by the soul to bring the chakra components into manifestation. Mantra is embodied sound vibrations that has fell or sunken deep into the vortex centers of power that brought forward subtle and gross manifestations of Shakti. The Bindu, which is the spiritual germ of consciousness, the I am, and the I releases the nada wave that is pure soundless sound. This nada wave moves forward and manifests the Shakti power out of the Shiva state of pure consciousness. This nada wave that expresses itself as sabda throughout nature manifests itself in vehicles of consciousness that shapes and molds aspects of Shakti power into animate and inanimate objects. After the Shakti is manifested, it falls into a samskara state of being that becomes embedded impressions of Shakti power signatures, mantras, and seed vibrations on the jiva, which is the embodied consciousness within the chakra. These Shakti signatures brought about by Sabda Shakti, sound power, are described as the Sanskrit letters that expresses itself as bijas, petals, or seed mantras that are embedded in the chakras. In short, mantra is the mental impressions, samskaras, of the soul. When men intone these mantras or sound vibrations properly, it has a natural magnetic pull on these embedded Shakti power signatures within the chakra system. This is where the great power of mantra resides within man. Constant recitation of the mantra by man moves the embedded mantras, embedded Shakti power signatures, out of a state of samskara consciousness into an active state of Shakti power. Then the power of mantra begins to live within the practitioner, and the mantra yogi acquires the power to shape and mold subtle and gross Shakti power at will through the expression of the mantra. This Shakti power brought about by the soul releases a sound vibration and moves to engross part of itself in order to build vehicles of expressions that the soul consciousness can work through. This is done through sonic vibrations that produce synchronizing frequencies that organizes the mind substance and cosmic energies that move forward to manifest the human structure. This is performed by synchronized Shakti powers traveling down through Sushumna, the subtle inner core of the spinal column, as a united Shakti power. This Shakti power reaches the equilibrium point at the end of its descent through Sushumna. This is where the Shakti power moves into a 3.5 energy configuration that brings about a dormant state of Shakti power, which is called Kundalini. This 3.5 coiled energy configuration blocks the doorway of Sushumna, creating a magnetic flux that forces Shakti to divide itself into a static Shakti force and a dynamic Shakti force. This is the point where the Shakti power moves from a whole state of being to a state where it becomes a not whole state of consciousness. At this level, the coiled Shakti is called Kundalini. It is here where it releases the para sound, that manifests itself into three other aspects of sound that holds consciousness into manifestation. These Sanskrit sound vibrations that were used to formulate the frequencies of cosmic energies and mind substance through the point of consciousness, Bindu, within the chakra system, moved forward and created the etheric structures, levels of consciousness, mental bodies, subtler bodies, astral bodies, and the physical body. Therefore, all Sanskrit mantra represents the consciousness of man and has a unique ability to shape and mold mind substance, prana, and matter. Kundalini is a pure sound vibration, which is an aspect of the conscious will of God being expressed as Shakti consciousness. It also represents the true manifested consciousness of the soul. Therefore, Kundalini shapes and molds mind substance as pure cosmic energies, Shakti. Now, let me say that mantra is a power source, a sacred power source. Now, what does this mean? Mantra is a sound vibration, which is a manifested form of Shakti power invoked by consciousness and can be harnessed to be used for good or bad. Just as Kundalini is a form of consciousness manifested as sound and light, which all three aspects of it is inseparable, it is also one source of power. It is also subject to be used for good or bad. Mantra is manifested by and through consciousness as sound. To understand this, we must have some knowledge of the science of philosophy, of the science and philosophy behind mantra. The Sanskrit letters represents unmanifested sound, potential sound, or the potential desire to manifest sound. When the Sanskrit letters form a word, pada, it becomes an expressed conscious will and an aspect of manifested conscious will. When the Sanskrit words form a sentence, vakya, it's bringing into manifestation the conscious will on several planes of existence as a wave of conscious energies permeating the realms of existence as embodied consciousness in the form of solidified light. Mantra, sabda, is the initial power that brought the all-pervasive mind substance and cosmic energies out of a static state of endless potential and brought about creation as we know it. This mind substance and cosmic energies, or Shakti power, used the wave of sound vibrations to move into perpetuated motion that brought about a chain reaction of modifications. This initial sound vibration creates the sabda waves through the universe, which is absolute sound, unmanifested and manifested. What is sabda, or this absolute sound? In ancient tantric Shakti doctrines, we can see that akasa is noted to be the etheric sound and is the carrying agent for all other Shakti tattvic forces. Akasa is the all-pervading force of Shakti, and all manifested Shakti uses Akasha to form and shape all objects subtle and gross. This sabda is lettered sound and unlettered sound. lettered sound is composed of words, pada, and sentences, vakya. Such sound as this has deep meaning with tremendous power of shaping and molding mind, substance, and cosmic energies. This type of sabda manifesting as speech is eternal and springs out as the background power to all things. As John Woodruff in his book, The Serpent Power stated, it existed before as it exists after. Such manifestation, just as a jar in a dark room which is revealed by a flash of lightning, is not then produced, nor does it cease to exist on the ceasing to be perceived through the disappearance of its manifestor, the lightning. This lettered sound as speech can only be considered eternal when it rings from and before its first initial spoken word or components of the initial spoken word that brought forth creation. The Shakti power was brought into active manifestation by sound, and it makes modification to creation by sound as well. Unlettered sound is the instrument used to bring forth the lettered sound conscious will or embodied consciousness, jiva. The embodied consciousness is an involved life stream or an engrossed soul that has positioned itself on the path of evolution to gain thousands of karmic experiences as it throws off its engrossed, involved material form life to life. The soul uses this wave of sabda sound power to move to and through involution and evolution. Later on, I will go deeper into this part of mantra sastra knowledge. In describing the sabda in its various forms of modification that occurs through the all-pervading universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energies, Shakti, we must examine the potential of this power, the manifested state of this power, and the state of consciousness it leaves from every modification. This wave of sabda is the supreme conscious will of the absolute God. It's this pada sound that stood as the potential will of the divine architect. The unique ability of this initial pada sound, sabda, is its power to shape and mold the power of universal mind and cosmic energies, which are the main ingredients of creation. The four aspects of sound. The pada sound is a differentiation force, which is a united Shakti force of one consciousness, which moves forward into a Shakti force of many parts before actual manifestation. This is considered to be motionless, casual sabda, absolute sound, which exists within the Kundalini consciousness of man at the Muladhara chakra, at the base of the spine, and within the flame of the Logos of earth, from which all life streams of this earth must pass through in order to enter the wheel of rebirth, samsara, on the realms of this earth. The pada sound is a state of equilibrium, where the life qualities, gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas are suspended in complete balance. The aspect of this pada sound that commences to move takes on a conscious power signature of pasyanti sound. This wave of dormant conscious sabda shakti extends itself from the Muladhara chakra to the Manipura chakra, the navel center or solar plexus chakra. This aspect of sound, sabda, is the first movement of the I consciousness, and the this consciousness, or the whole consciousness that became many parts of consciousness. This Shakti sound is a motionless force that represents first movement. It brings universal mind and cosmic energies into active manifestation. This aspect of Sabda consciousness is often described as Ishvara, a name given to a manifested state of modified consciousness that extends from the universal consciousness. The Pasyanti sound is a state of consciousness where the gunas become unequal and sound is produced. The third aspect or stage of Sabda consciousness is called Madhyama sound, which is Sabda power that demonstrates the cognitive aspect of mental movement. The initial power of sound consciousness continues its journey by modifying itself from the Pasyanti sound located at the solar plexus center into the heart center, the Anahata chakra, giving inner meaning to its movement. It is here where the naming of this Sabda power occurs. It is here where this sound power manifests its ability to mold mind and cosmic energies into shapes by forming the subtle bodies of man. This wave of consciousness can be easily seen in the physical body of man. We can actually say that there is a network or matrix of sound that extends from the physical heart in a series of sound vibrations that pumps the oxygenated red blood cells throughout the body while pulling the depleted oxygenated blood cells into the lungs to be oxygenated again. It is here where the Madhyama sound through the letter or petals of the heart chakra manifests these subtle bodies and physical body. Before this Madhyama sound appears, there is no outer form or object. When the Supreme Conscious Will, in a manifested state of Pasyanti, modify itself as the inner Madhyama sound and is projected into the world of sensual experience, which moves forward as the final sound aspect of consciousness, which is Vikhari sound. The Vikhari sound is the fourth aspect of sound. This wave of Vikhari sound represents the gross aspect of consciousness as gross speech and gross physical body. This Sabda Shakti force is located in the throat chakra, Vishuddha chakra. The Vikhari Sabda is the corresponding gross aspects of the subtler forms extending from the Madhyama mental configuration. We can see these powerful forces at play in a true analysis of gross spoken speech. Spoken speech is a physical vehicle for thought. Organized thought is a subtler form of sound that resides in the inner subtler realms of man's mind. Coherent, gross, audible sound that expresses itself with words that make sentences to convey messages outside of the mental framework of your inner thoughts is the vehicle that subtle sound uses to project its subtle forms to the gross realms of existence. Sound represents organized movement. All movement has a point of origin and a destination point. Before the start of this movement, there had to be an idea or concept which can be considered subtle, motionless movement before thought formation of the manifestation of that idea, pada sound, or the absolute potential of sound. This idea or concept acts as the point of consciousness, as a power source of all potential that energizes mind and pranic forces into a definite form or shape. these energetic mental forms muscles themselves through the wave of the all-pervasive mind substance and cosmic energies, modifying these subtle particles into denser forms of matter, all through the power of sound. Therefore, sound is consciousness, and consciousness is subtle sound expressing itself as mental thought forms. These are mental thought forms, which are subtle sounds that express itself as audible sound in the form of spoken language, which can be described by words and sentences. Uttered speech is the manifestation of the inner naming of mental thought forms. Excuse me one second. Okay. The 6 parts of a mantra japa. Every mantra has 6 components to it. These 6 parts of mantra give it the balance of power that we all seek within mantra. The designers, or may I say, the discoverers of mantras, have realized this consistency within the science of mantra knowledge. All mantra sound is taken from the 50 letters or petals of the chakras that lie within the etheric bodies of man. The yogi masters that are able to go into deep states of meditation, like samadhi and cosmic consciousness, have heard and been able to intone the sound bits, petals on the chakras. With these sound bits, which are called letters, varnas in Sanskrit, and seed mantras, or bijas in Sanskrit terminology, on and within the chakras, the masters of samadhi arrange them in a configuration that act as keynotes of sound vibrations that synchronizes the vortex centers of power, chakras, within the etheric structures. This synchronization of the chakras and etheric structures sensitizes these vehicles of expression to be able to translate the higher frequencies of mind substance and cosmic energies that normally flow through these sensors undetected by the conscious mind. The masters of samadhi merge their conscious minds into their superconscious minds, bringing about a tremendous amount of awareness that opens the master to the direct pressures of the divine laws of karma. This allows him to operate as the avatars do, where he operates within and under the strict divine laws of karma. It is this state of mind that the masters work from when they are formulating these mantras, measuring every fraction of force that's exerted within the sound quality of the mantra under the laws of karma. Now, let us go over the 6 components of mantra. Number 1, the rishi, seer, guru, or master that gives the mantra. 2, mantra meter, a measurement of the length of the mantra. 3, mantra devata, the presiding deity of the mantra. Number 4, mantra bija, the seed of the mantra. Number 5, mantra Shakti, the cosmic energy or power of the mantra. 6, mantra Kilaka, the pillar or pin that's hidden in the mantra. Receiving a mantra from master or guru. The first component is the master or guru. This means that a master must give you a mantra that has lived within him, or a mantra that he had formulated from his ability to fully raise the power of Kundalini consciousness through Sushumna up to the Christ center, Ajna chakra, into a deep state of samadhi. where the master works from a point of strict karmic control. Mantra lives within a person by the constant recitation of the mantra until the power of the mantra manifests itself within the auric structure. This means that the sound vibration that makes up the mantra itself, this means that the sound vibration that makes up the mantra manifests itself within you. And then when this person intones the mantra properly, it immediately synchronizes those chakras it's related to. The chakras are the true seat of man's consciousness. For man to synchronize the chakras means that he has increased his ability to receive the higher frequencies of mind substance. That gives him the ability to hold cosmic energies in place. This also means that at this level of mantra development, when the mantra is spoken, a tremendous flow of cosmic energies move from one state of existence to another state or to a different energy position. Another way of stating this is to say that the man's consciousness is moved from a lower state of consciousness to a higher state of consciousness. Now, there's an ancient law of the universe that states that no one can pass a mantra on to another person without that mantra living within them. To break this law brings tremendous negative karma to the person that breaks it. When the master gives a mantra, he passes on a part of his consciousness to the student he gives the mantra to. This is the subtle power exchange that happens between master and student. Measuring the length or count of the mantra. The second component is the measurement and length of the mantra, which governs the pitch, notes, and tone of the voice. There are several ways to measure the mantra. One of the most effective methods is what is called automatic counting. This is the method where you use your hand to count the number of times you say a mantra. Each joint on the fingers is used as a point to count from, with the thumb scanning as illustrated in figure 4.2. Which is hard to see. I'll go over on Sunday. The second component is the measurement and length of the mantra, which governs the pitch. The automatic counting method is a very effective way of keeping count without thinking of it so much. One round on the hand gives a 16 count. 6.7 rounds on the hand, 6.75 counts on the hand gives us a 108 count, which is said that a mantra chanted 108 times consequently places a mantra on all known 108 chakras within the human structure. The second most effective mantra counting method, and a very popular method in using them, is using the mala beads. The mala beads has a necklace-like design with 108 beads on a string that represents a mantra count that places the mantra on all 108 chakras, as shown in figure 4.3. The mala beads are also designed to be used without thinking about the process too much. The 108 bead mala allows the user to place the chanted mantra on each chakra with one round of use of the mala bead. It also established the goal for the practitioner to reach the daily basis to chant the mantra 21,600 times by going 200 rounds on the mala beads. It is stated that the soul secretly chants the mantra 21,600 times a day to keep a segment of its consciousness engrossed in etheric, mental, astral, and physical substance. The measurement of the mantra is an important factor in the practice of mantra japa. One of the great secrets of mantra is to predetermine the number of times that you would chant the mantra during that sitting or session of the mantra. This builds an apex or framework of time that this Shakti Nada power has to move from a static state of power to a dynamic level and back to a static state of power. This creates a pathway and time frame for this mantra power to work within and through in order to manifest its power. Another key to unlocking the power of mantra is to always chant it no less than the number of letters that make up the mantra. For example, if a mantra has 3 letters, then you should say the mantra 3 times every time you voice it. The residing devata of the mantra. The third component of the mantra is the residing devata of the mantra, which some ancient texts call the presiding deity, whether it's a higher or lower power entity. The devata is the mantra, and the mantra is the devata. When the mantra is recited with great devotion to the point where it lives in the man who is constantly reciting the mantra, the devata of the mantra reveals itself to the devoted practitioner and then merges itself with this particular power into the auric structure of the practitioner, expressing its full power. The Yoga Sutra describes the Ishta Devata as the spiritual forces that results from the constant recitation of the mantra. This deity is an aspect of the cosmic energies that make up or manifest the forces of the higher self. The meaning of Devata here stands for the higher self of man, the great reflection of the soul of man that manages all his aspects of Shakti manifestation. The soul is the Devata aspect of man. It is the guardian of our destiny. The devotees of this ancient science recognize these forces that are called into play by the recitation of the mantra is backed by a deity that is strictly governed by the divine presence of the divine laws of the lords of karma, who make sure the divine laws of God prevail throughout all creation. The soul strictly follows the divine laws of karma, manipulating the cosmic energies that's produced from our constant thought and actions. The soul produces the right amount of karmic limitations dictated by law and karmic pressures needed toward conformity. Another interest point of mentioning in the meaning of Devata is that, one, mankind is here on earth for a reason, and that is to consciously control the rise and fall of the power of Kundalini up and down the inner core of the spinal cord, Sushumna, as told to us by Dr. George King, a great Western yogi master. He also stated that when man can consciously raise the power of Kundalini at will, the crown chakra, he becomes a devata, a guardian for humanity, because at this point, he has synchronized his consciousness to understand the higher frequencies in the mind, where he is able to understand the great laws of God, or karma. The mantra's bija, or seed mantra. The fourth component of the mantra is the bija, or seed mantra, which is a significant word or series of words which gives it a special power. This is the root sound harmonizing the mantra with a keynote power signature. Sometimes the seed mantra expresses the essence of the mantra. I must note here that in every major chakra along the spine, a bijas or seed mantra is described. This Bijas is the presiding deity and the consciousness of that particular chakra and expresses the mental levels of existence that the Bijas work from. It is the true state of consciousness that man works from. The soul of man works through the vortex centers, chakras of the body. It expresses bits of consciousness of the soul. The Bijas is actually the first layer of the embodied consciousness, Jiva. The Bijas of each chakra is the synchronizing Shakti consciousness of the chakra. In fact, it's only a part of the soul's manifested consciousness. There are about 108 chakras within the body of man between the major, minor, and minute chakras. The chakra system can be called a conscious splitting instrument of the soul. The soul uses it to involve itself into gross forms of manifested Shakti. Through the use of a series of calibrated sound vibrations, the soul forms the bodies of expression that it works through. Each chakra bija holds the essence of that particular vortex center, creating a whole realm of conscious existence. The mantra Shakti. The fifth component of the mantra is the mantra Shakti, which is the power of the mantra, the vibrational forms set up by its sound. Excuse me. The Shakti power is the mantra. So the Shakti power of the mantra is that force that carries man to the Devata that is worshipped. Mantra is a component of the Absolute's conscious will. The potential configuration behind all manifested Shakti, cosmic energies, and mind substance. Mantra Shakti commands mind substance and cosmic energies by creating various forms and shapes from its projected forces of sound vibrations. The magnetic power that mantra Shakti has over mind and prana is because of its composition of the opposite forces in a state of pure potential as subtle Shakti power. Mantra Shakti power is described through the symbolism, yantra, of the major chakras along the spinal column. Mantra is seen as the vehicle of consciousness used by the soul to manifest light on all levels of existence through the chakra system. Mantra is the calibrating instrument for massive forces of subtle Shakti powers through each chakra. The mantra Shakti power of the chakra system is deposited there by the soul during its involution process toward evolutional journey. They, mantra Shakti, are megabytes of power deposited there by the soul to be released by the embodied consciousness, Jiva, during its journey of evolution back to godlike consciousness. In other words, this deposited power within the mantra is there for us to call upon, to aid us on the pathway back to the godlike conscious state that the soul and spirit exist within. Another quality of the mantra Shakti power is the conscious will embedded in sound vibrations of the mantra on each chakra. In the practice of mantra chanting, these Shakti qualities are projected from the chakras through the Nadi system, purifying the Nadic consciousness with sattvic qualities of pranas or Shakti powers. The mantra Kilaka. The sixth component of mantra is the mantra Kilaka, which is the pillar or pin that supports and makes the mantra strong, or the pin which fastens the mantra together. This Kilaka is the plug for the mantra Chaitanya, consciousness, that's hidden in the mantra. With constant, prolonged repetition of the mantra, the plug is removed. and the name of the devata is revealed. Then the practitioner, devotee, enters a visionary state, darsana. This visionary state is when the concentration on the mantra turns into the contemplation on the mantra. With a vast amount of stored knowledge and power within the mantra is released through various psychic visions. A panorama of psychic visions occurs in all types of energy forms and symbols. It is believed that a sincere and earnest practitioner of mantra can bring about this visionary state within constant and continuous japa over a period of 4 years or 13 cores of mantra, which calculates to 10 million chants for 1 core of mantra chanting, japa. Every round of mala beads holds 108 count of mantra chants. 13 cores of mantra equals 1,203,704 mala rounds, which is 300,926 mala rounds per year and 824 mala rounds per day. Of course, this number is enormous. In fact, it's actually 130 million chants of a particular mantra in order to enter this contemplative visionary state of consciousness. Also, I must say here that a person's karmic pattern and position in the course of life will also determine how quickly someone reaches this state as well. I believe the stated number of 13 cores, or 130 million of mantra, is probably the maximum number that the average man will have to chant mantra earnestly as a devotee with great passion and godly respect in order to purify his auric bodies and enhance his consciousness. The power of mantra japa, chanting or repetition of mantra. Mantra is sound vibrations that molds, shapes, transforms, and transmutes vital energies and mind energies into higher or lower frequencies of operations. Tantric yoga tells us that constant chanting of mantra japa changes the samskara configuration within the auric bodies by replacing negative embedded samskaras with mantric samskaras. This actually changes the practitioner's karmic patterns. The auric body of man records all thoughts and actions of an individual. The recording of these thoughts and actions are actually energy signatures brought about by the actions of thinking, breathing, moving, speaking, etc., which are the samskaras described in the tantric documents as thought impressions or subtler scars left behind by all the thoughts and actions of a person on the layers of their auric bodies. The accumulations of these samskaras are compounded over lifetimes of many reincarnations. These thought impressions or subtler scars, samskaras, become megabytes of energy signatures that come alive at specific times and under certain karmic conditions. They are the tools that help bring about the karmic pressures throughout all our lives. The central essence of man's consciousness is encased in layers of the auric bodies, moving from physical existence to the next life, after life, all the time encased in the same auric body or course, every life adding or depleting vital and mind energy configurations from its overall auric patterns. Now, japa actually expresses its inner meaning in its syllables. The first syllable, ja, means to destroy the birth and death cycle of reincarnation. And the second syllable, pa, means to destroy all sins. Therefore, the Sanskrit word japa actually means man can destroy all sins, thereby breaking the wheel of rebirth and releasing the soul of its gross earthly bondage. through the constant chanting of mantra. The tantric mantras, according to their doctrines, instructs mankind or the students of japa practice for the best results to chant the mantra for at least 10 million times. In fact, one core equals 10 million chants, or 92,593 mala chant sessions. One mala equals 108 chants. It is stated that if someone performs japa for 3.5 cores, 35 million mantra chants, it destroys the negative samskaras of theft, fornication, and even the sin of murder. Continued and constant chanting of mantra leads them to purify the aura and nadic pathways, where psychic and spiritual powers begin to manifest themselves within the practitioner of japa. As stated earlier, 13 cores, 130 million chants of japa place the practitioner of japa into a visionary state of consciousness. Psychic and spiritual powers from mantra chanting. The purification of the aura and the nadi pathways brought about by the constant chanting of mantra allows a clear flow of pranic forces within the physical and subtle sensory pathways, giving man the ability of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and psychometry, etc. The clearing of the subtle pathways brings about the marriage of the physical and astral sensory perceptions, which happens to create the sensitive pathways that produces psychic powers. It is said that psychic and spiritual development begins with the aura and nadi pathways, begins when the aura and nadi pathways are purified of discolored energy configurations that set up blockages within the nadic and auric pathways. With the removal of these blockages, man can direct concentrated, energized thought particles through methods of pranayama and kundalini yoga, exercised through the nadi pathways and stimulating the brain and chakra system. Constant mantra chanting enhances concentration potencies, and this ability of concentration, constant mantra chanting enhances concentration potencies with this ability of concentration. And without the subtle, energized obstructions, the psychic senses are readily available for use. All right. Thank you everyone for sticking it out for those 2 chapters, 3 and 4. Hope you were able to get a lot out of the reading today. We will stop here. Going forward, I may, or I probably should, keep those longer chapters to a single session, make it easier to digest. So I'll let you know which study sessions in the future will be either a single chapter or no more than 2 chapters, depending on the length of the chapter. That concludes today's study session. Thank you very much for your attendance. And again, you can pick up a copy of this text on Amazon, or you can go to our website, mysticknowledge.org, and you can see a link there that gives more information about the text and also options. They'll take you directly to the Amazon page or even to the publisher's page to purchase a ebook or physical copy of the text. Thank you very much for your attendance, and look forward to studying with you again next Friday. And be sure to attend this Sunday our open discussion, where you can feel free to ask any questions you have, and we'll go over some of the highlights and questions that we have on today's reading. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful weekend.